Cherry, and we are back with Our Life Now and Forever. Our first video of this series has gotten over 20 views, so pat yourselves on the back for that one. Y'all have done really great with that. If I check it right now, we actually have 21 views, so that's awesome. Our other videos of this series have been getting up in numbers, so I thought, why not do another one? So this is part, 7? Yeah. And I have been talking about doing this one for a while, but I never got to it. So let's get into it, I guess. Alright, last we checked, we were on our first day of school with Tamarack and Xiao? I think it's Xiao. Okay. You glanced over your shoulder. In the doorway was another new person for you to have to know. Her braids didn't match a few of the kids there, but she wasn't going to be sitting in the desks with them. She was twice... Blah. Darn. I was hoping I could be able to get the history. Wait. No! Log! She was as tall as everybody else in the room. That had to be the teacher, Mrs. Murray. Okay, I'm glad I looked back. Her soft brown eyes looked down over you and your neighbors while she tapped a finger against her freckled, speckled face. The pattern on her skin was almost like stars if the sky was light at night and the stars were the darker part. Her rosy pink lips parted into a smile. She inclined her chin towards Xiao. Nice to see you there, Mr. Xiaolin. This will be a good year. Yeah! Xiao stretched the word out as far as it could go, and at the same time he opened his arms wide. He turned his head away too. He had the kind of tone your mama would have when she had old work friends over and they'd asked if they could set her up on a blind date. Squeakily cheerful and not real. He was trying to be nice but wasn't trying that hard. Though, when his eyes were rolling away, his gaze passed over you and got stuck there. A sly grin tugged at the corners of his mouth as the sound of his voice went from off-key to a lullaby. Maybe. Oh! Cute! Mrs. Murray's pencil-pointy eyebrows lifted. She blinked one time, then her own smile grew. It was shared with you and Tamarack next. Hello, I'm your teacher, Mrs. Murray. Am I right to say that you're Tamarack Bowman in Cherry Fair? Yes, teacher, I'm Cherry. Yes, I'm Miss Cherry Fair. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Murray. I'm Cherry. And I'm Tamarack Bowman. You joked. Bowman. You nodded. She guessed right. You stared at the grown-up talking to you. You looked to the ground without a word. I'm gonna joke. Your master plan was ruined by Tamarack giggling as soon as you said it. She tried to cover up her mouth, but it didn't help hide the sound. Realizing the trick, your teacher's gaze went razor sharp. Are you sure you're Tamarack Bowman? The gig was up. No, I'm Cherry. Tamarack, the actual one, bopped her hands in the air and twisted in place to swing her bag so that it hung behind her back. I'm the real Tamarack! That is so great. Mrs. Murray spoke sweetly in a way that was just nice. It wasn't surprised or relieved to find out the answer. She probably didn't need to ask to know who you were. Teachers knew a lot. If you'd be so kind, would you mind coming over to my desk over there in the far corner? I'd like to talk to you two before class begins. Okay. Tamarack finally lowered her hands back down to her side. She still bumped her bag around by pushing it up and down with her butt. It clattered loudly, and Mrs. Murray pretended not to hear. Yes, teacher. What do you want to talk to us about? Well, don't take too long. Did I do something wrong already? I can go too. What about Xiao? He grabbed the side of Tamarack's overall shyly. Is it important? You stepped closer, curious. You took a step away, nervous. I'm gonna say, what about Xiao? He doesn't need this one, but it's important for you and Tamarack. Alright. Thank you, both of you. She gestured lightly with her hand for you to come and left the doorway. Xiao turned his head to follow the teacher. More and more of his dark hair eclipsed your view of the rest of him as she walked away. When you lost sight of his face, there had been a frown on it. After she was really gone, he swung back towards you and Tamarack. Xiao was smirking then. Good luck out there! He tipped over on one foot and bent his body way down. His other leg kicked into the air. He could balance better than a flamingo. Xiao slipped a hand under his jacket on the hook and also under Tamarack's scarf, which was still on top of it, and dug around in the fabric. He didn't come out empty-handed. He'd gotten a hold of his favorite notebook and a pencil. Xiao slowly lifted his chest up and brought his one hovering foot down to earth again. That whole thing was graceful, but he followed it by wildly waving his notebook goodbye at you. And a paper fell out when he did it. Tamarack squealed, trying to talk, but too fast, so none of it was real words. She reached her arms to Xiao graspingly, like she could pick him up and plant him back where he'd dropped his thing. That didn't work either. He stepped away on light feet, carefree, and joined up with one of the groups at the desks. They all raised their heads and waved when he arrived. He was gone, and the teacher was waiting. Tamarack squinted her dark red eyes tightly. She directed her gaze towards you because it wasn't like anyone else in the room could understand her. You gave her a look back. Xiao, you said with a smirk. Xiao, you said with a sigh. Not again. Scatterbrain, you said with a grin. Scatterbrain, you said with a grimace. Isn't he cute? Isn't he great? You stared at Tamarack in disbelief over that guy. You shook your head with a frown. You snickered. Xiao, you said with a smirk. Xiao. Picked up the paper and peered at what it said. Picked up the paper and put it in your pocket without looking. You left it on the ground. Made a beeline to the tan page on the blue carpet and snatched it off the ground before somebody could step on it, or it could blow away and get lost in the middle of a forest. Before putting it in your pocket, you read over the top side and flipped it over to see the back. It was a list of food and other things. Maybe he was trying to remember stuff to get when he went to the store with his parents. You tucked it away in your pocket. That was taken care of. Tamarack pretended to be a jack-in-the-box like she did yesterday. This time, it was by bending on her knees before bouncing straight. Her fluffy locks of hair shook around her round cheeks. Come on, Cherry! She skipped off to the teacher's desk, all smiles. You trailed after her lead. You didn't want to be left behind. Off in the corner on the other side of the room was the teacher's old dark brown desk. At least the very top of the wood was dark. The inner part was a lot lighter. You could see that from all the tiny cuts and scratches over the surface. It was as far away from the desks as it could be. You guessed that was so she could have these kinds of talks with everybody, without everybody else hearing the whole thing. Mrs. Murray didn't sit in the cool rolling chair that went behind the desk. She stayed in front and only leaned back against the top ledge. Ledge? I meant edge. Dude, I cannot read today. I'm dead. This is why I usually play, like, games that we don't have to read. Even though that's a lie. We always play games where we have to read. I just mean, that's why I like playing the games where we don't have to read. She got to talk to you and Tamarack gently, because she didn't have to push her voice across a piece of furniture that separated students and teachers. I appreciate you coming to this meeting. I wanted to let you know a little about today, and what you can expect from your first day. Why? Well, this class is a unique arrangement of the students, but you're the only two who have never attended this school before. Everyone else is simply returning after a summer break. I'd like to introduce you during roll call later. I want all the other kids to know who you are. Oh. Tamarack flicked at the buckles on her bag. They made a clinking sound when she hit them up with a and a thump when they landed back down. Her gaze moved around too. The meeting wasn't exciting anymore. You were with Tamarack. That wasn't a big deal. Your teacher was definitely smart. That would help a lot. You thought you were ready for school, but you weren't sure anymore. Having your own introduction made you feel special. It was going to be so awkward you knew it. You were relieved it wasn't only you. Tamarack was getting it too. I don't know. I don't know if it would help. Would it help? I guess, okay, think about young me. You think about young Cherry, what would I do? I would think that it made me feel special. It was like you were somebody famous. Miss Murray smiled approvingly at how you and Tamarack handled that first assignment. I'll make sure it goes well. The teacher slid her hands across the desktop behind her and spread her fingers out wide. In a couple of minutes, I'll be telling the class to take their assigned seats. You'll have those spots for the rest of the year. I made a seating plan already, but there is a bit of wiggle room to help you get comfortable if you'd like. Tamarack's hands flew from her bag to her cheeks. It sounded like a smack. Does that mean me and Cherry get to sit together because we're neighbors and friends? Her outburst made you want to cover your face with your hands too, for a really different reason. You were so nervous. Your heart wasn't going to stop running around your chest until the teacher said if you get to be with Tamarack the whole year or not. A twinkle was in Mrs. Murray's eyes when she finally said that what you were hoping for. You thought she might have paused on purpose to make it more dramatic. Yes, I can put you next to each other. Ah! It made Tamarack explode in celebration. She sprung over so close to your face, you leaned back without even thinking about it. Even with that, her nose almost poked yours. Cherry, we're gonna sit together! Yeah! We've got something then. Anything else? I see is okay. Can Tamarack and I sit with Xiao? Can I sit close to the front? Can I sit in the back of the class? I don't care what seat I have. You couldn't think of anything to say. Can I sit away from the wall? Can I sit by a window? I want to sit with Xiao! They were both your house neighbors. Tamarack and Xiao had to be your seat neighbors too. Mrs. Murray was a really proper lady from what you'd seen. She didn't have one wrinkle on her fancy suit, but creases suddenly appeared around her eyes and mouth after she heard that. The line spelled, "Not again." No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're getting along with Xiao, but there were students who wanted to sit next to him last year and didn't get to. It's their turn now. Your eyebrows went up so high you could have almost lost them. That many people wanted to sit by Xiao? It was kind of rude to the teacher, but you had to turn your head right to look at the guy you'd been talking about. He was leaning over the bunch of desks from before and still talking to those other kids you didn't know. There was a big smile on every face. You tilted your head back where it came, but not all the way. You only moved it enough to be looking to the side instead at Tamarack. Her gaze was directed straight at you. She gripped the strap of her bag that was weighing against her chest. Since the day you had moved in, it had just been the three of you in your cul-de-sac. Even if the day you moved in was yesterday, it was the same group. You, Tamarack, and Xiao. Neighbors. But you weren't in your neighborhood anymore. On the outside of that street, Tamarack was exactly like you were, and Xiao wasn't. You and her were strangers in Golden Grove now. You didn't know people, and they didn't know you. Xiao had been there forever. And it wasn't only that. You'd already learned something on your first day of school. Xiao was popular. You were glad to have a friend like Tamarack even more. Someday you were going to be popular too. Of course a lot of other people liked Xiao a lot. If you had so many friends, why did he care about getting to know you? It didn't matter how many other kids liked him. Xiao was your friend too. You weren't going to let that change things. The three of you were still friends. Maybe he only talked to you because he liked to talk to everyone. That was too weird. Realizing that made you sad. You wondered how you would fit in when you met everyone else. This is all very fair things for a child to feel. For us, though, I feel like we're pretty, like, upbeat, adventurous. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know how it makes me feel. Have a friend like Tamarack, yeah. She could understand what it was like to be you. You're both the odd one out, but you were with each other. Not looking at her didn't stop your teacher from trying to talk to you. Cherry, I'm sure once you're in your seat you'll get used to it. Soon you won't want to be anywhere else. And if not, you can come to talk to me about it. Yes, Mrs. Murray. She didn't talk the desk up anymore. It was gonna have to win you over on its own or not. So, Mrs. Murray had to wait for you and Tamarack to stop your shared stares of surprise, and then she pointed across the floor to a couple of desks near the back that were side by side. Those are yours. Tamarack's is closest to the wall, and Cherry's yours is the one next to that. Window seat, gonna sit at the window seat. Tamarack happily sung herself a simple song about her brand new desk. Besides the roll call, there won't be any surprises. It will be a regular, easy first day of class. Thank you for having a chat with me. You can take your seats. Tamarack's cheeks inflated as she pushed a smile between the two balls of air. Okay, let's go, Cherry. Bye. The teacher stayed resting up against her desk while you and Tamarack went towards your own seats. Tamarack sent quick, excited glance from the desk, then back to you over and over as you walked towards them. She chattered about how it was going to be so fun being right next to each other and all the things that you could do during the year. She beamed so bright it was like her sparkly golden hair made the sunshine that filled the room. Tamarack skipped along with her rosy cheeks, and every time she giggled over getting to sit by you, you definitely felt as warm as being in the sun. But the grin you had on your face had to be as gleaming. The two of you might burn the place down. A clap and a call came from where you just left. Attention students, class is starting. Take your seats. Just like she said she would, Mrs. Murray was beginning the lesson. You were right in front of your assigned group desk when she said it. The red plastic chair Mrs. Murray had pointed out before was probably really old, but it was brand new to you. You pulled it out from the tables and gave sitting in it a try. Hard, cold, and slippery smooth. And the back part wasn't straight. It bent away from the bottom seat part. It felt like you were leaning against the top of a shiny slide on the playground. If you weren't paying attention, you might fall right off. Maybe that was the point. That way to keep kids focused. Tamarack was right there next to your left side, by the wall and the window, just like she wanted. Past her, you could see the rustling treetops outside, with their golden fall leaves all bunched together. They kind of looked like Tamarack's puffy hair, but not as sparkly. She plopped her huge jingling pack on the desk. The actual bag barely fit, and she had to bundle up the strap on top so that it wasn't sneaking over into someone else's workspace. The tips of her rain boots were pressed against the dark blue carpet, and she tapped her heels together. It made the shoes squeak. She was excited for her own little place in the room. Cherry, we're going to be right here for the rest of the year. Yep, I've got the best seat, neighbor. Tamarack patted her hands against the thick fabric of the bag and giggled in time with the hits. She stayed pretty busy making a beat. You glanced out at the room ahead of you, where the important boards and teacher were. Xiao was there too, in the very first row of seats. It wasn't the same spot he'd been in before when you saw him talking to some people, but those other classmates he was sitting with were just as happy to have him there. He was hanging one of his arms across the top edge of his chair, and was settled in so snugly he looked like he had a heavy blanket had been thrown over it. He moved his head to the side to rest his cheek against his stretched out shoulder. Xiao somehow made himself sit even more relaxedly. When that happened, he noticed you behind him. Xiao firmly pressed down his eyebrows and pushed his mouth open a little. He wasn't there when you learned how you and Tamarack would be together, and he wouldn't be there with you now he found out. He only looked away long enough for him to notice that you had noticed his expression. Then, your friend, house neighbor, and not seat neighbor, sweetly smiled instead. Xiao's deep brown-eyed gaze darted over to Mrs. Murray, directing your attention to her. His eyes kept moving right into a dramatic roll that went all the way around. It wasn't hard to imagine him saying, "Teachers, huh?" or something like that. For a minute, you could picture what it would have been like if he had been sitting right next to you. But he couldn't face you forever. It was class time. You were left staring at the tiny ponytail on the back of his head again. It was okay. You were close enough. Mrs. Murray patiently waited for people to get settled. Every seat had a kid in it, and final words were said before the room faded into a short silence. That's when things changed from you being just someone in some room to a student who had to listen to a lesson. "Hello, class. Thank you all for being here today. Welcome to your first day of 5th grade." She gave a round of applause. Normally, the people sitting and watching were the ones who clapped for the person standing in front, but you guessed Mrs. Murray did things differently. "We're going to have a lot of fun this year, and you'll learn a lot too. But also, you're the big kids on campus now, so I'm counting on you to set a good example for the rest of the students here, all right?" "Yes, Miss Murray." Mrs. Murray, whatever. Around half the class answered her. Part was in a loud cheer, and others were in bored grumbles. The teacher accepted both moods warmly. "Thank you. Let's get started with roll call then." She crossed past the desks to get a folder off the little cubbies in the corner. She got that and left her stiff brown jacket behind. The teacher flipped open as she stepped back into the center spot. The cozy sweater made everything about her seem softer. "You know the story. I'm going to shout everyone's name in alphabetical order, first name first. When I call your name, raise your hand and say, 'Here, Mrs. Murray, I am so excited and happy to be with you at school today.'" That time, almost the whole class started to chatter. There were snickers shared between friends, whiny outcries of, "We can't do that," and somebody even booed. "Okay, just say 'here' will work. And now, I know you're listening." Her soft voice had a jovial kick. She had fun with her job. "Let's begin." I like that. Your name started with C. It probably wasn't going to take long for her to be calling you. I like how they had that customized, so like whatever like name you had, so whatever it started with would be a specific like text response. That's really cool. That's kind of cool. You gotta be at the front of that line and wouldn't have to wait forever. Mrs. Murray went through each of the A kids and it just kept going from there. And then you were next. You knew, not just because she was on your first name letter, but because her keen eyes were on you before she even said anything. "Cherry Fair?" I'm here, Miss Murray." "Hi, I'm Cherry. I just moved to my house." "I'm not here, Miss Murray." "Hey, Mrs. Murray, I'm so excited." "Yes, teacher, I'm here." Here, you shyly raised your hand. You put your hand up without talking. You folded your arms. You sunk lower in your chair. You froze from the pressure. "I'm here, Mrs. Murray." Say that. Hushed words spread through the cluster of other kids. Before you denounced yourself, they had no idea you were a person who existed in the world. Now they did. The teacher gave her approval with a nod. You sat up tall in your seat after a job well done. No, because I didn't want to, like, go on about myself. I'm going to say that, and Tamarack's probably going to do that. But I didn't want to go on about myself because, like, she hadn't told me to. I mean, they'd said she'd, like, give me an introduction, but She didn't explicitly say that just then, so. Though, honestly, I probably would have picked the go on about myself thing. Shaolin. Mr. Shaolin didn't really raise his hand. He just popped a thumbs up from his laid-back lean. Here, Mrs. Murray. That worked, though, and your teacher moved on. Tamarack Bauman? Tamarack's arm shut up in record time. It had already been wound up and ready for that moment. I'm Tamarack, that's me! It wasn't exactly what she was supposed to say, but Tamarack got an A for effort. Mrs. Murray continued with the last of the names. Once every person in a stiff red seat had a turn to say that they were there, Mrs. Murray gave you and Tamarack a real introduction to the class, the one she had warned you would be coming. Ah, there we go. It talked about how you had just moved to town and what people were supposed to call you and everything. Mrs. Murray must have asked your mama and Tamarack's Omi and Opa to know all that. You appreciated that she went to all that work so that the other kids would know about you. That was the end of the not really teaching us anything except names part of class. Mrs. Murray took a paper in the folder out of the flap and moved it over to the other side. Okay, I'm gonna save right here, y'all, and that is part 7. Is this in another? Where have I been saving? Oh, I'm still in the prologue? I thought that I wasn't in the prologue. Well, return to game. Okay, I love you, my cherry blossoms, and I will see you next time. Please tell me what you want to see next. And yeah, please check out the video that one of my viewers that loves this series recommended me the game to play. Do Not Take This Cat Home. Please check out that video. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you got this far in the video, please, 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 please comment music note. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Cherry out.